These days, the buzz about AI is everywhere.
AI is changing everything.
The idea was always yours. With Claude as your thinking partner, you made it real.
But when you peek under the hood and look at what's needed to power this new technology, one thing immediately comes up.
The country, from Kansas City to Metro Detroit, data centers. And
These data centers are the backbone of AI technology.
Data centers are setting up shop across the country. In the South, an abundance of land and affordable energy has made the region a popular destination for tech companies.
North Carolina's kind of made a name for itself with its data center corridor.
But these facilities have also brought with them worries about everything from environmental impacts to higher energy bills for local communities. And many people are starting to voice those concerns in the voting booth.
I think there is now pretty clear evidence in North Carolina that it can quickly shape a campaign.
I'm Anissa Khalifa. This is The Broadside, where we tell stories from our home at the crossroads of the South. This week, the hyperscale and hyperspeed of data center expansion, and why some people aren't willing to plug in. If you own a home, you need to know about Angie. Because whether you're dealing with daily maintenance, emergency fixes, or even a major renovation, it can be hard to find the right help. Sometimes you don't even know where to start. But Angie's been connecting people with skilled pros for over 30 years, and they've made it easier than ever to get your home projects done well. Angie gives you access to a nationwide network of tradespeople with the right skills. Experts in everything from plumbing and landscaping to roofing, remodels, and more. Just bring Angie your project, answer a few questions, and Angie provides you with nearby pros who match your needs. You can easily read verified reviews, check out photos of past work, and request and compare quotes to find your best price. Which means you could tackle that next home project in just a few taps. So the next time your home needs some TLC, join the millions of homeowners who have used Angie to care for their homes. Download the free Angie app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. To dive into data centers, I reached out to Zachary Turner. He's the climate and energy reporter for WFAE in Charlotte. And while he's been closely following the state's data center expansion, he says at times it can be hard to keep up.
It's so funny because in many ways it feels like the reporting on this topic never ends. There's always something new happening. There's always new data center projects being announced. It's just ever evolving.
Zachary's most recent reporting is part of a collaboration between several newsrooms across North Carolina, including my colleagues here at WNC News. This team of journalists looked at data centers' growing footprint in the state and the reactions to them on the ground.
Communities are constantly in this process of forming an idea about what these data center projects are and what they potentially mean for their community.
Now, these facilities have been in the news a lot lately, but I've got to admit, I'm not entirely certain what exactly a data center is. So I asked Zachary to break it down.
It's funny because they're so variable, but at the end of the day, it's like a little home for servers. You know, it's a building that is built to house the digital infrastructure that we all rely on for storing photos, for streaming, and now most recently getting into the production and creation of AI.
In other words, they house the tech that powers our digital world. But Zachary says not every data center is a behemoth from a big tech company.
Data centers can look like a lot of things. Some of them are really small. They can fit inside of an office building. You wouldn't even really know that they're there. But others are the sizes of multiple warehouses. They can be these large campuses. So it depends, data center to data center.
Zooming in on our state, North Carolina, how many data centers are in North Carolina?
Great question. It's kind of hard to know. By some estimates, there are more than 100 data centers in North Carolina. By some, there are closer to 50. I come through a partial data set recently, and I found close to 50 unique data center projects, but that also included some that were proposed and some that had gone out of business or projects that had been canceled more recently, because this is such a fluid situation. The reason they're so hard to count is, like I said, a lot of them are small, but also, unless they're trying to advertise to tenants to get people to rent server space, they can be very private. They're not necessarily saying where they are or whether they're operating and how much energy and water they use.
Yeah, tell me about that energy and water use. That's often the first thing that comes up with data centers, right? So how much energy are these data centers using in North Carolina?
Yeah, so I was able to get in contact with the Electric Power Research Institute. And in North Carolina, their estimate is that it's around 2.5 to 3% of the energy produced in North Carolina.
How does that compare to the rest of the South?
Yeah, good question. North Carolina's kind of made a name for itself with its data center corridor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is this area that's just east of Charlotte. It's around 17 data centers operated by about 12 providers. North Carolina does have among some of the most data centers in the South, but states like Texas and Georgia surpass us by numbers. That's also reflected in the power demand as well.
In Memphis, Elon Musk is making a play to control the future of artificial intelligence. His company XAI...
The spotlight in the South, though, has really been on places like Memphis, Tennessee. That's where XAI has its Colossus project. This is Elon Musk's project.
At Elon Musk's second XAI facility in Memphis.
Yeah, the company says the Colossus 2 supercomputer in Whitehaven should be powered up in just a few weeks.
That's where he brought in a bunch of diesel generators to try and get power to this facility as quickly as possible, and that's cast a really long shadow for data centers in the South.
So that's where things stand right now. But what can we expect in the future? Zachary says North Carolina's largest energy provider, Duke Energy, could give us some insight. It's gearing up for unprecedented demand.
The amount of energy they're going to need to produce in the next 5-10 years is going up at a rate that we really haven't seen, not in recent memory. When you look at what is driving up the energy demand forecast, it's mostly coming from economic development. And while most of the projects in Duke Energy's economic pipeline aren't data centers, those data centers do account for something around 80% of the energy demand coming from future businesses that are eyeing the state, that are looking to come to North Carolina.
And to meet that huge demand in a timely fashion, Duke Energy is falling back on fossil fuels. It's building infrastructure that'll help guarantee data centers can hit the ground running once they open.
They want to increase the amount of natural gas generators that they're building, and they also want to delay the retirement of coal plants. Originally, those were going to be all retired by the mid-2030s, and now it looks like the last one will close in 2040.
Okay.
And these projects are coming with some very ambitious plans for how to power them because they want to come. They're these hyperscale projects that want to come at hyperspeed. And so in some cases, they actually want to provide some of that power themselves, which means building whole power plants just to service the facility.
So, who is paying for all of these data centers?
That's the million-dollar question, I think, for a lot of people. A lot of folks are asking and are concerned about their power bills going up. Data centers are, to the best of my knowledge, and according to a lot of the agreements that they're signing, are paying for the immediate upgrades that need to happen local to where they are. That's like building a substation or doing local grid upgrades. What's less clear is whether or not the costs of building new power generation, like a new natural gas turbine, or like building a new solar farm, whether that's being appropriately allocated to power these plants. Because these data centers are connected to the grid, it's kind of hard to say whether a specific turbine or a nuclear reactor is being built specifically because of that new facility. After all, they're drinking the same electron soup that the rest of us are. You know, it's plugged into the grid.
Yeah.
Those electrons could be coming from a wind farm. It could be coming from a solar farm. It could be coming from a natural gas turbine. It all gets mixed into the grid, and then the data center is pulling from that energy highway.
Yeah, as you said, these data centers are going to be plugged into the grid that everybody uses. So what risks and what benefits do data centers pose for the power grid?
The main benefit, starting with the good news in this case, is that if we get this right, if we're able to design tariffs and rates that appropriately allocate the cost for upgrading the grid, we end up with a grid that's more modern. We're able to upgrade our transmission system. We're going to see benefits that improve reliability for all customers, not just these industrial customers, not just data centers, but towns, cities, businesses that are already in the state. There's also a chance that if the cost for these changes are properly allocated, overall rates for everybody could go down. There's an opportunity for a downward pressure on what people are paying on their monthly energy bill.
Tell me the bad news.
The bad news is that if we get this wrong, if we go business as usual and we don't think critically about how our rates are currently structured and how this new type of energy user, something unlike anything we've seen before, what the impacts of that would be coming onto our grid, there's a chance that this could really increase rates for folks in the long term as we're building out infrastructure. There's also a chance of us building out infrastructure for projects that ultimately don't materialize because there's so much uncertainty with a lot of these data center projects, and we've really seen that play out in North Carolina over the last few months.
Just a short drive from the heart of downtown Matthews sits more than 120 acres of land, now being considered as a place for a data center.
Recently, watching the drama of some of these data centers play out in towns like Matthews, where we had Project Accelerate. This was a company called Engineered Land Solutions had proposed a data center in the town of Matthews, and folks really came together. It reminded me of a sort of antibody response, like when a body is really trying to reject a foreign material. People were swarming the town hall to attend these meetings and speak out, saying that we hear you saying that there's going to be tax revenue from this project. We don't feel like we need it. We don't think it's worth it.
New tonight, this is a look at what could have been but will not be. These are the drawings of that proposed data center for Matthews that is now not a done deal.
We're seeing in a lot of cases, communities are really coming together to say, like, we're not ready for this. We don't really understand the impacts this is going to have on our community. We're also not sure about the benefits that you're saying we're going to receive from these. Let's hit pause. Or in some cases, they're just like, we don't want this at all.
But even if a community stops a data center from opening up, it doesn't mean they're totally in the clear, because the infrastructure has likely already been built to power the facility, which Zachary says could lead to a kind of reverse field of dreams scenario in some places, where you build it, but they, the tech companies, don't come.
It's going to be an artifact on people's energy bills for decades if you end up building a new natural gas turbine for a data center that doesn't come, that doesn't end up paying its power bill long enough to be able to pay off the cost of that new infrastructure. That sort of summarizes this idea of, like, what happens if we have a reverse field of dreams? I think the end result of that is that the worst case scenario is we build a lot of infrastructure for data centers. They never come, and we end up paying for these projects for the next decade or two.
Zachary Turner is the climate and energy reporter for WFAE in Charlotte. Any way you slice it, the ripple effects of data centers are likely going to linger for years. But folks aren't wasting any time in responding. Just ahead, how attitudes on AI are showing up in the voting booth.
Hi, I'm pianist Manny Axe. On my new podcast, Classical Music Happy Hour, my guests and I talk about life and music, and we also like to play games. Is it a composer or is it cheese?
Oh, I know this game.
Knowing Mozart, it's probably all of the above.
It's all of the above. Is this a fake or was this a flop?
Flop.
That's more mistakes than I made in my last recital. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Adam Wagner. I am a reporter and editor at the North Carolina Newsroom, which is a reporting collaboration of several public radio stations in North Carolina.
Adam Adam's also part of the collective that's been reporting on data centers in North Carolina. But as somebody who often focuses on state government, he wanted to look at data centers on a local level. For example, how are these massive projects being talked about in town halls and city council meetings?
These are large-scale economic development projects. They tend to be in rural communities, oftentimes rural communities that could use a boost to their tax base. But the regular people that live by these projects just want absolutely no part of them. And that's been pretty much universal across North Carolina, east to west.
And Adam says, surprisingly, that distaste doesn't fall along party lines. Both Democratic and Republican voters have shown strong opposition to data center projects in their communities.
Yeah, it's pretty bipartisan.
Do you think that data centers have become political poison?
Ooh, so I think they have become a topic that can quickly shape a local election, which I think gets to a broader point that people just kind of don't really trust their public officials right now. There are pieces that are specific to the data center discussion, things like electricity usage, water usage, etc. But I also wonder if it's just not becoming shorthand for I don't trust my elected officials to do something that I support.
For a closer look at data centers' sway in local politics, Adam went to Kingsboro in eastern North Carolina.
So Kingsboro is a small rural community in southwestern Edgecombe County. It's not the highest wealth area, but it also has this industrial park that Edgecombe County commissioners have been trying to find an anchor tenant for a long time. There's a tire plant proposed there back in 2018 that fell through. There was a battery plant proposed there 2 years ago that has since fallen through. And now there's this data center project that's proposed for it.
Yeah, tell me about what's going on there.
There's a developer that wants to build a massive data center there. The company's called Energy Storage Solutions. They say that it would be about 300 acres. They claim that they're willing to spend up to $19 billion on it. The people that live around it say it is just not in keeping with what has been a really rural area to this point. There are employers that they are okay with. This one, though, it would be a big boost to the tax base, but how many jobs would this thing really bring? How much would this really benefit the people of Kingsboro?
Adam says this pushback in Kingsboro has precedence. The community has a history of being wary about certain industries coming to their town.
For a little bit of background, back in the mid-90s, there was a slaughterhouse that wanted to go to Kingsboro. And the residents there organized really effectively and were able to keep the slaughterhouse moving into the Kingsboro Industrial Park. So there's a history of the residents there pushing back on big projects that they view as toxic to their area.
With technology and all, we can get to more people. Back in 95, it was hands-on, door to door, just talking to people, gathering the community, galvanizing.
Longtime Kingsboro resident David Batts was part of the effort to stop the slaughterhouse back in the 90s. And now he's part of the push to stop the data center project. But for this fight, he took a different approach. He recently decided to run for office in the local county commissioner's race.
The person he was going to run against was a 16-year incumbent seeking what would have been his fifth term on the county board. And David Batts won the primary by pretty much a 2-to-1 margin.
Wow.
So it wasn't close.
Against an incumbent that's been there for ages.
Yeah. And there might have been some other issues in the race, but Batts' campaign sign said no data centers. There was one very clear overarching issue that defined these two candidates.
The people saw what I was about. They saw that I was against data centers. That's the reason I think they voted for me, because, I stood for something.
What power do local elected officials have in preventing data centers from coming to their county?
In a lot of cases, local governments haven't really wrestled with this issue until now. So one of the things we're seeing in North Carolina is this wave of moratoriums. Local governments can agree that a specific kind of project can't come for up to a year. There's a handful of these across the state now that have passed year-long moratoriums on data centers. And part of the argument there is that this gives us a year where we aren't going to have to approve one of these projects, and we can think about what kind of rules we want to put around them.
In terms of county-led moratoriums, how many do we have in North Carolina right now? And how many more do you think are coming soon?
So this is changing quickly.
Okay.
There's somewhere around 10 right now between cities or counties, any kind of local governments. But we're talking in early April. There's a handful that are on the table now. So there are a lot of these that are happening pretty quickly. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And that gives county officials, industry folks, residents a chance to get together and say, what can this look like? If we do put this here, is there a way that everyone can be happy? And in a lot of communities right now, that answer is not necessarily a yes.
Whenever there's some kind of economic development coming to the state or to a county, they always talk about it creating jobs. I mean, what kind of numbers are we looking at in terms of new jobs for people who live here or like other benefits to the community?
You're going to make me look this up.
Yeah. Sorry, Adam.
That's okay. Okay, so a 2023 report that was prepared for the Data Center Coalition said that the industry supports 87,000 jobs here, that it contributed $12.2 billion to the state's GDP, and led to $939 million in state and local taxes. Now, the jobs number isn't necessarily the number. That doesn't mean people employed by data centers.
Yeah, I was going to say 87,000 seems high.
So that would be like the people who are building data centers, construction jobs, the people who are, trimming the plants around the data centers. So I don't have a great number on the total number of people employed by them in the state. It probably isn't super high.
So communities like Kingsborough are clearly not into having data centers in their backyard. And it kind of points to this broad opposition to these facilities that we're seeing, not just here, but all over the country. Where do you think tech companies might have gone wrong in their rollout of these projects?
Part of the issue here is that these different kinds of computing facilities are all becoming conflated with each other. Things like the crypto facilities, the mining facilities that we see in the western part of the state that have these giant fans blowing nonstop, versus a data center for cloud computing, versus an AI data center that's creating something for someone, but also might be supplanting a human job. Like, these three kinds of projects are all lumped into one bucket right now. And I don't think the developers of individual projects are doing a great job of saying, this data center is going to be this.
Looking ahead, data centers have been a big political flashpoint, as we've talked about in recent months. What do you think is on the horizon, specifically in local governments here in North Carolina?
I understand the pushback that we are seeing from community members towards these projects because I think that data centers haven't done a good job of answering a lot of these questions. I don't envy county commissioners for having to make decisions with everything in flux, plus just kind of trying to wrap their heads around what is a data center, what does it mean for my community. And I think that the next piece might be that the developers need to do a better job of answering those questions. There's part of this where, like, these are what we are being told is going to be the backbone of the 21st century economy. So you can't always say no. So where do you put them?
Adam Wagner is a reporter and editor for WUNC News with the North Carolina Newsroom. You can check out his reporting on data centers, as well as Zachary Turner's, at links in our show notes. This episode of The Broadside was produced by Charlie Shelton Ormond and edited by Jared Walker. Our executive producer is Wilson Sayre. This week's episode featured audio from NBC News, WREG in Memphis, and in Charlotte, WBTV and WSOC. The Broadside is a production of WUNC News in North Carolina and is part of the NPR network. If you have feedback or a story idea, you can email us at broadside@wunc.org. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a rating, a review, or share it with a friend. I'm Anissa Khalifa. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be back next week.
TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
We're coming at you with everything we got.
This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset. With movies like Pineapple Express, the entire Star Trek film franchise, and Gladiator, and TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts, Pluto TV is always free. Huzzah! Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.